Please delete this entire fucking thing.
Don't you fucking dare.
Hello out there in podcast land. This is Metallic Joe from the 240p Club. Do you remember us? I know it's been a while since we've been on the air here. We're not coming back really. The podcast kind of slipped away in 2021 due to COVID, and none of us really had the time to work on it as much anymore, which it sucks, but I was going through some of our old archives here, and it turns out we do have enough material that has been edited out and left on the cutting room floor to edit together a podcast full of complete crazy outtakes, including the Royal Guard incident, which Zakk and Nikki will look fondly upon. So I'm going to edit these together, and we will have at least one more podcast so we can end 240p Club on a good note. I want to thank you all for tuning in over the years. Thank you, and hopefully you enjoy this. Zakk, I believe you wanted to talk about poopy.
So, since we're talking about Doom, an interesting story popped into my mind about the worst I ever shit my pants. So
if you're thinking of a game that'll make you shit your pants, Doom would have been one of them. Honestly, yeah. Quake would have been closer for me because of, like, you know, especially Quake Deathmatch, get shot in the back of the head. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, well, on this day, I definitely put the do in Doom. So I was sick. I was homesick from school that day, and I was just old enough that it was finally my dad was like, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna go to work. You can sustain on your own." So the first time I was like home alone, so I was like, "Well, fuck it. I'm gonna play this Doom game that you know." And so the situation was, or the situation, as it were, every time I sneezed, I shit.
Oh, no.
So for most of the day, I would feel a sneeze coming on, run to the bathroom, and take care of it. But I got to the end of Doom 1, and I'm fighting the Spider Mastermind, and I am into this fight. And I'm down to like 10% health. I only got like 100 bullets left in the chain gun, and I'm just like, oh no! Like, I swear I lifted up off of my seat. I filled my pajamas. Of course, the very first day that I'm left alone, now granted, I'm super young at this point, but it's like the very first time I'm left home alone on my own, I just fucking fill my goddamn pants. And that's the worst I ever shit myself, and I blame it on the Spider Mastermind.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
that'll do it. I don't have a story like that.
Very few people do. Yeah.
I only have a story close to that. Alright.
I mean, if I did have a story, anything similar to that, it would be mainly joking about my monthly visitor, but we're not going to talk about my monthly visitor because that's a little disgusting.
Anybody that gets too grossed out about that, though, I consider weak. You know?
That's, you know what it is? It's one of those things, a lot of guys, I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit about talking about it or, you know, whatever.
Boys get disturbed by that stuff. Men don't.
Yeah, basically, I've noticed, a lot of guys acknowledge it exists. They won't openly acknowledge. It's like, how do I describe it? It's like you get hurt on the job. You have this bruise. Bruise hurts like a motherfucker. You know, you're sitting at home whining, complaining about how much this friggin' thing hurts. You go out with the guys. You put on the tough face. You ignore the pain. That's similar to what guys do when girls are talking about, you know, that time of the month. Certain guys, I'm fine with it. I've just gotten to the point where I know a lot of female anatomy at this point because I'm older. It's not worth.
That sounds weirdly bragging.
That's true. That's true.
But didn't that sound like weirdly like bragging? Like, I know quite a bit about the female anatomy. I've had a look or two.
I may have seen some of the anatomy or two back in my day. But no, I don't know. That's not something to get disgusted about. Now,
I mean, do you want me to tell the story?
well,
You know what? I think we've built it up so much at this point. I think we have a moral obligation.
and plus, this podcast knows those bounds. Zach shit his pants. So why aren't we talking about
not
you
here.
giving birth to a jellyfish?
Birth to a jellyfish. Is that what we're calling it? Okay, so I'm streaming. This is not a retro game or anything, but with my Twitch, I stream a lot of modern games. So I'm at the final boss fight of Devil May Cry 5, and I'm fighting against Virgil, and I understand his pattern and all that.
Spoilers.
He has since been patched. The game's been out since March. Everybody knows he's in the fucking game. Everybody saw the fucking trailer when he ripped off his son's arm. But anyway, so
I'm not listening. La 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 la.
so I'm fighting him, and I understand his pattern at this point. He's since been patched so that his patterns have now changed. But my period had just started. It was the first day, and that's always the worst day because it's like fucking Niagara Falls every time I move. So I'm following. I have Royal Guard on, and I'm blocking all his moves at certain timing and everything. And
Royal Guard was the product you were using.
Fuck you. So I'm in his Royal Guard position, and I'm dodging, blocking, timing all the summoned swords, and I sneeze. When I sneeze, it's fucking Niagara Falls. I lost my final life because I got a sword through me. And then, of course, in typical older brother fashion, because he's the older brother you're fighting against, he makes fun of me when I die. He says something about me losing a lot of blood. I'm like, I hate this game. I am taking it back to GameStop. I'm taking it back to GameStop. I hate you so much. And I never hated anything more than I did that day. And I screamed at the TV, and my mom's looking at me like, what the fuck? And I was like, he just made fun of my period, that motherfucker.
I think we may not need to create a brand of feminine hygiene products called Royal Guard. 240p pot.
It's not like Dante gets laid anytime soon.
240p protection. For you, the sword.
Just look out. If you see any blue summon swords coming at you, you probably should run.
to you nearest meta. Can't even fucking.
Zach can't even do it.
Like, run for it.
I was gonna if you see the blue sword coming, run to your nearest pharmacy and pick up the new 240p Club's Royal Guard.
Each pixelated pad comes with 5 grams of protection.
Well, Virgil clearly needed that. Because that's how he ended up with Nero.
Oh my god.
Well, where were those rails? I think we're pretty far off of them by now.
I'm just throwing this out there. This isn't going to be on the podcast, but this
Thank
whole little
God.
segue here, we're putting this on a future podcast.
Oh, fuck you!
Because we have that anecdote about you and GameStop already.
Oh, fuck you! Now... Okay, and so now this is 240p Club. Everyone talks about Nikki's vagina.
Well, you've mentioned it before.
I have made a lot of titty jokes about myself, and not... Fuck you.
You're not going to get any more fan mail than you're already getting. I mean, everyone wants to see Bob's and Vagine.
I am sending my Royal Guard every time you ask me for Bob's and Vagine. hate you guys. See, this is 240p Club After Dark. It's like past 2 a.m. now. And I think I just caught my second win because I was really falling asleep back there.
And you caught your Royal Guard.
Fuck you.
Not this time of the month.
Oh, fuck.
I got nothing to say to that.
What possibly...
Your wife is over there.
What possibly could be said on that one?
We're gonna do like George Carlin's fart joke. I have no ending
for
to this,
so
I
take
take
a
a slow bow.
Bring it back full circle.
Royal Guard. We're just gonna Royal Guard again.
Sponsored by Royal Guard.
You know, I had it in my head that eventually we're gonna do a podcast on female video game characters, but now I can't take this shit seriously because every time like you see a female game character, you're gonna think of Royal Guard.
Well, not necessarily, because there's a lot of female video game characters, and Dante's like an eternal virgin, so you got nothing to worry about.
I know, I'm not talking about Dante.
Yeah,
Fuck Dante.
Yeah. Fuck him, indeed, and fuck his brother, too, for making fun of my period, motherfucker.
Well, these are Japanese men. I don't know how much experience they have with periods. Alright, I just made fun of the Japanese, and we need to edit that out.
Yeah, we
Pronto.
need to edit that. And they're actually Italian.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the characters were created in Japan doesn't mean they're Japanese.
Yeah, they're actually not Japanese.
Yeah, that'd be like saying Hamlet was English.
Well, Mario's Italian, but yet you see him shirtless in Super Mario Universe, and he's fucking, like, no hair whatsoever. That's not an accurate representation of Italian.
Dude, I'm Italian. Like, he's Italian-American. I got no chest hair. I'm Italian as fuck.
Shit, maybe he waxes.
4% Italian.
Dude, my brother's Greek, okay?
Yeah, well,
as am I, obviously, but he's got the hair, too.
But at least they remember to give Mario nipples.
That's true.
Yeah, because a lot of games take nipples away.
Yeah, but does he have pointy nipples, or does he just have, like, a little pink spot where the nipples should
They're
be?
a little, just, Yeah. They're Nintendipples.
Nintendo nipples.
Nintendo safe nipples.
This is going on the Outtakes podcast, I think.
Please delete this entire fucking thing.
Don't you fucking dare.
I'm saving it, but it's going to be heavily edited in our Outtakes.
You can keep Zach's little poop talk.
Well, because it fits the topic.
Take out at least half of my jokes, like half of my story, but we'll keep the Royal Guard part.
Well, you need context, though.
That's true.
Okay.
They're online, so I know you want to talk more official things. You don't want to get into too many crazy theories.
We could chat a little about vaporware, but let's keep it on topic with the Dreamcast.
Yeah, and there are theories that say the original Xbox is supposed to be Dreamcast 2. And there are traits of it, like Jet Set Radio ended up on the Xbox.
Well, there wasn't. I don't think Sega was too keen on releasing a system 2 years after their big entry into the console.
Bumped it, yeah.
There was also this game called Shenmue that came out. It was supposed to be like episodic. Episode 1 came out for Dreamcast, and then Episode 2, I think, was exclusive to the original Xbox for a while.
Yep, very true. Now, another thing, without getting too deep into it, because you can look it up online, type in either Sega 2020 or type in Dreamcast 2, and there's an actual hardware that almost looks like a Fire Stick kind of thing.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say vaporware for that.
Right. No, it is. It's not official. You just like it's. I don't even know what like. Probably some dude just slapped it together to make it look like a Fire Stick kind of like adapter, like that thing right there. See that? That's exactly quote unquote what the Dreamcast 2 looks like.
In my cable box?
Yes.
Okay, you got to keep in mind we're on podcast.
Oh yeah, that cable box with the green light. That's quote unquote exactly what the Dreamcast 2 is supposed to look like. And what I mean by quote unquote, because the video I saw, had it looking like that, but it's like, yeah, you're going
to. I'm calling it vaporware.
100% call it vaporware. Absolutely, yeah.
It was never like the Dreamcast was.
Correct.
They pulled the plug on that early. Honestly,
yeah.
they could have milked another year out of that life.
Oh, yeah.
But they didn't.
There was a game that came out 18 years later after the demise of that. It was like a bullet hell game.
To be fair, though, there was a game that came out for the Sega Genesis this year.
Right, yeah, Super Nintendo. Same thing. It was like a fighting game. It was weird.
It came out this year.
Yep,
so,
yeah.
I mean, people are still, if they have the original hardware, you can make one of these games. It actually got easier now. There's a developer that you can make Nintendo games now. As long as you could get like a blank cartridge and chipset, you could play it on the NES if you designed it right.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, this is what keeps these systems relevant. This is why we're talking about this system on its 20th birthday. Because of the fan support for a lot of these systems, the memories people have, we're able to talk Dreamcast without having a bunch of people tune in and go, "Oh, what's that?" It's like
they know what it is.
some of the computer systems of the past.
Yeah.
That I can't get my hands on like a ZX Spectrum or an Amiga. But they exist. I know they exist, and I'm versed on them a bit. So, I mean, it's like the same thing. There's such a fan community around for some of these systems that it keeps it alive in our memories. So that's why the Dreamcast is still around, and that's why all of these systems we talked about today are still around. The Sega Genesis is going 30 years. They're coming out with a classic.
Yep.
They also came out with a collection. You can buy the collection. You can play them on your Switch or PC. Even some of the other systems, Xbox, I think, Xbox One and PS4. You could play all of these games. These games are legendary, and it brings back such memories. Like the Game Boy, even though that's not a Sega system, the fan support for the Game Boy was amazing, and this is why we're talking about this today. And this is exactly why we talk retro games, especially the Dreamcast. It's because we have so many memories of some of these systems that it's hard to let go of them,
Yeah, I mean, when you saw that thing, you were like, wow. And it's to see Sonic like that. I mean, that's like an experience. I mean, there's not a game today on any of these systems, and I love it. I love Xbox One, and I love PS4, and we'll talk about Dark Souls again because I love Dark Souls. But
to be fair, again, you are seeing the modern consoles through like an adult's eyes.
Right. But when you see when you first saw Sonic like that on the Sonic Adventure, I mean that was an experience, man.
You're seeing that 20 years ago through you're in your 30s, so that's teenagers' eyes,
You're right, but there's no
that's a different experience.
Right. Oh yeah,
it's like when you see the first Sonic the Hedgehog game.
Yeah.
For Sega Genesis, I'm seeing that through the eyes of an 8-year-old.
There's 10. No mascot like that today. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no
there are mascots, but it's different. Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, Mario still exists.
Right.
There are mascots. It's
But again, they're like, the beginning age. I'm talking like there's no guy that comes out today with a game and says there's going to be Super Series, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3.
I mean, Bayonetta counts.
Star
Road game plus a few other games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but when you saw
Super
Sonic
Smash
like
Brothers came out, and that was every Nintendo intellectual property and mascot this and that rolled into one fighting game.
Yep.
All these companies have mascots. You go to Capcom, Mega Man's probably still their mascot.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about new guy that comes out today though. For the systems are not making a brand new person. That's what I'm talking about.
I gotcha.
Yeah, for instance, when PS1 made Crash Bandicoot.
I don't think they need to make any more.
No, they don't.
Because these mascots are aging, but they're still
iconic. Right. But when you see, for instance, when you saw Sonic like that, or even when you saw Mario like that on Nintendo 64,
here's
mind blowing.
Here's another thing to consider with this. This is interesting. The youth of today, I feel, don't really have the same attention span, and it has nothing to do with, I'm not going to insult the next generation. It's the technology we have these days. You have the ability to move on to the next thing.
Absolutely,
you don't
quickly, too.
Yeah, you play this game, it's like you're being drawn into this epic movie. You play it, it's amazing. You move on once you beat it. You spend so many hours playing one of these games. You move on to the next title. You don't look back and go,
No.
That's what these Mascots were for. You have a fond memory of playing this game.
Oh, yeah.
Companies know this is going to sell systems, and you have the Mascot, so it's like, okay, we can make another game that's easily recognizable, but it's better than the first one. That's what happened with Sonic.
And you don't have that now. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't need it because people see these games for what they are. It's like an interactive movie.
Oh, yeah.
Then they move on. Thanks to the technology, we have the ability now to move on. Where back in the day, it took a while to develop some of these games, so you weren't getting bombarded with all these titles like, in such a short span.
Oh, yeah. The only guy you kind of have now is a God of War guy.
Kratos, but I haven't seen. Well, they put out that game, but between games, you don't see him as like the face of the PlayStation 4.
That's right. That's where I was getting at earlier.
They stopped marketing him when Spider-Man came out, and that Spider-Man game, and then the next big game was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
Which that was the focus for a while. People are still playing Grand Theft Auto 5, but I mean that's still it's no mascot. But that's the thing with like most of these games, you don't need mascots,
right?
Or you do like Blizzard does and make a game entirely out of mascots.
Oh yeah,
that you're going to use later on, namely Overwatch.
Now
it's part of marketing. Yeah, it's part of marketing.
Guy could actually work out if they did it right. Would have been that Cup Man. He could have been a mascot.
Well, he's getting his own cartoon, so that's going to be
Cuphead.
Cupman.
Yeah,
Cuphead.
I mean, seriously.
Cuphead and Mughead.
Yeah,
they're getting their own cartoon.
That's a guy that could have really. You know,
it is. It's they're going to market that, but that was a more independent developer.
Right, that's what I mean. It's not like a major console kind of thing. You don't see
independent developers
like
need to do that. Like Yacht Club has Shovel Knight. Unfortunately, that's the only thing they've ever put out.
Yeah.
But we're waiting on some other titles. Shovel Knight was such a great game. That's their company mascot. So technically, you have that, and then you also have obviously we talked Sonic. Like he's still coming out with games, but.
Yeah, but Sonic's like ancient times.
Yeah,
now.
let's go to modern.
Right.
Would you consider here's something philosophical I want to bring up. With the popularity of, let's just say, all the Call of Duty games, would you consider the Call of Duty logo as the mascot taking the place of a mascot instead of?
Yes or no? Because kind of the way you're saying it, of course.
I would not.
I would agree with that.
I would not, because you still have some iconic characters. You still have Kratos, you still have Dante, you still have Kiryu, you still have even Axel from Streets of Rage is still pretty popular. You still have Ken and Ryu. You still have Cloud. You still have some of these famous icons that you've been playing for years. So technically, I would still put characters over logos now.
Yeah, but that's all they're doing now is logos because
it's
Call of Duty.
Like it's basically you're marketing a series.
Right.
People don't even need to see the gameplay. They just see new Call of Duties coming out. They're going to buy it. It's doing the same thing the mascots used to do.
Right.
New Sonic games coming out. Boom, I'm buying it. Even though Nintendo is considered the less successful company nowadays because of the Switch, is considered something different.
They made Wii Cooking. Come on now, dude.
Yeah, but they made that lady, that Wii Cooking lady. That's like
There is so much great technology. Without getting too deep into this, there was so much great technology on the Wii. And you wasted it with Wii Cooking. So many things you could have done with that.
Didn't waste it with Wii Cooking. Wii Cooking sold a lot of consoles.
Oh, it did.
Nintendo realized when the Wii came out that they were not going to beat Xbox. They're not going to beat PlayStation.
And they should have made every
game
tried. And made it interactive.
They didn't try.
Yeah, that was their problem.
They released those controllers. It's basically like the Power Glove on steroids.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, the potential. What they could have done.
They released
with
Wii Fit. They released Wii Sports. It came with the games. It came with the system. Wii Sports. You know how many systems Wii Sports sold?
Oh, yeah.
People didn't, they wanted to play all of these games. They didn't care. It didn't have, barely any third-party, third-party
that's playing, Lord of the Rings with that, or...
Yeah, it had some licensing, but it didn't have all these licenses. like some of these other systems. Nintendo knew this. Nintendo didn't even try. Nintendo just put out a system that was going to sell based on the merits of both the old library, because you could download a lot of these old titles and play them, and it was based on the fact that people are going to buy this, even if you have an Xbox or PlayStation.
Cooking. People will buy it for that.
A lot of people don't have the disposable budget to buy an Xbox and a PlayStation.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Or Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 back when this came out.
Yeah,
they didn't have the disposable budget to do this. But you had a PlayStation. All of a sudden, hey, I could buy a Wii. I want to play Wii Sports. You get all these buddies over, or you have the kids over after school. You have a bunch. My nieces had one. A bunch of teenage girls are sitting in my sister's basement. They're all playing Wii Sports because it was a blast.
Right.
This is what sold systems. Cookie Mama, that was the same thing.
Yeah.
It was like a cutesy game. It sold systems. It
didn't
sell
what
systems.
They could have done what they should have done.
There's no way they could have, should have done. But Nintendo knew this, and Nintendo is one of the pioneers as far as like mascots go. Like again, Super Smash Brothers was an entire game based on mascots.
Yeah, you're right about that. You got the first one. I mean,
yeah.
I think just to put one more point about the Wii, the cool thing about the Wii was how versatile it was with genres. Like, I could be bloody with Resident Evil, and then I could go play a cute game like Cooking Mama or something. Like, that was the cool thing about the Wii, was that it was more family-oriented, so you had more people who really didn't play too many video games enter the world of video games for the first time in their lives.
And also, how many systems did the Wii Fit sell for people that were non-gamers that just wanted to get fit?
Wow.
And it sold so many systems.
That was a
the
big...
cutesy, it had like a little the Mii, the
character.
character.
That was a big
The Mii
thing.
character was fat when you first started, and then you just see yourself slim down. Like you wanted that Mii character to slim down.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's like one of those fun interactive things where all of a sudden you start slimming down for real.
Yeah.
If you keep at this. It was a great motivator. So see, it's like mascots, Nintendo realizes mascots and titles like this sell systems.
Yeah,
so that's why Nintendo has all these mascots. Super Smash Brothers sold like hotcakes on every system they put it out on. Mario Party sold like hotcakes. Again, same thing.
That might be another thing why Dreamcast didn't do good. I mean... Besides, like I said, seeing Sonic like that for the very first time, that's all it had.
No. I mean, it had a lot of games, again. Jet Set Radio, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Mascots, Nintendo relies on them to sell systems. Some of the other franchises, you don't really need a mascot to sell that game, so they no longer have mascots. That's why the mascot has kind of declined over the years, but mascots still exist in a lot of titles, including some more recent ones, and they're still, again, selling games, and, well, not as much anymore selling systems like Sonic used to do for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much Super Smash Brothers is a free-for-all mascot frenzy anyway.
Yeah, and that's what sold systems.
It's a lot of fun, though. I'm not very good at it, but...
Super Smash Bros., they should have put, like, Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee as characters. And,
maybe eventually.
Yeah, that would rule, man. Or you take, like, imagine Dingo, the guy that sells the
guy that eats babies.
Yeah.
This will be a separate podcast sometime. Who should be in Super Smash Brothers?
Yeah, the guy that sells the maps on Wind Waker.
Well,
he'd be a cool character.
That would all be cool, but we got what we got from Super Smash Brothers. It's a mascot free-for-all. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And, again, to bring up our point, mascots used to sell systems, and Nintendo still uses mascots to sell systems.
Another thing with the Dreamcast, not many
Phil,
people had it.
Stop with the Dreamcast, because this is a separate podcast.
Oh, now we're talking about... Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about midnight launch horror stories.
Nikki, you were a former GameStop employee.
Oh God, I think that's one of those like conversations, like a conversation starter where it's like, oh well, I was a GameStop employee. Oh, me too. Like you'll meet maybe like 20 people who say, oh yeah, I was a GameStop employee.
It's like you have a support group.
Oh God, we do.
I'm sure you have many support groups for former GameStop employees.
GameStop Anonymous. Oh my God. God, the kind of job that'll like make you drink. And it's like, the thing is, I love video games, but that working a job like that just made me hate it so much. Not hate it, but it made me like, oh.
Yeah,
games that I like to play, I like to play them. But like other games, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sick of Assassin's Creed. I'm sick of Ninja Gaiden. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that.
Here's nowadays, a lot of this is more moot because video game launches are done online. Although a lot of people still like to collect the physical copies, myself included, especially for the Switch, because my Switch only has so much memory on, like, you know, I have the biggest memory stick, and it only has so much memory, you know, to download all these games. So I go get the physical release, you know, still. But to bring this back to 240p Club, back in the 1980s, even 1970s, hot new toy came out. Everyone had to get their hands on it, so there's midnight launches for certain things, especially around the holiday times, like Christmas and Hanukkah and everything. So people used to go to the people used to go to these like super malls and toy stores and everything. Cabbage Patch Kids was one of the biggest prime examples of my youth. When I was a very little kid, I didn't want a Cabbage Patch. Fuck Cabbage Patch Kids, but I know a lot of people, you know, that grew up with a Cabbage Patch doll. And
Not
their
me.
parents...
No, I had a water baby.
Oh, yeah. I remember the glowworms, too. That's
Did not
another
have a
popular
glowworm.
one. Transformers, a new Transformer came out, you know. Kids wanted it. Obviously seen it on the Saturday morning cartoon. They're like, oh my God, I gotta get that toy. Look at that. I can make my own adventures. This. I think this is why kids were more creative in the 80s and 90s, but... that we'll save that for some other time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I did have.
I'm not gonna go millennial bashing yet again.
I did have a lot of Ninja Turtle toys, but a lot of them were handed down to me from my cousin. So
I actually got a few hand-me-down Ninja Turtles, but I also had a few of my own. If I had a good report card, sometimes that was what I got.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Like I would go to the store, then I would get like a Barbie doll, and then my brother would get a like a Transformers, and then we would like. Have them play together.
So my favorite thing was, I don't know if anyone else does this. Hey, we're going on tangents again. Yes.
Yay!
240p Club to their tradition. So, anyway, my favorite thing was I had a bunch of stuff from Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters had a pretty good product line, too. I had the Firehouse from Ghostbusters. It was a great play set. Yeah, and then, you know, as a kid playing Ninja Turtles and Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, and seeing... I remember this, the Technodrome level, when the Stone Warriors smashed down the doors. I had a figure, you know, I had the Ghostbusters Firehouse, I had the Ninja Turtles figures, and Rocksteady jump and smash down the doors, just like the arcade, smash one of the turtles, and oh man, yeah, it was so much fun. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this required your parents, or guardians, or your well-meaning aunts, going to your grandparents, etc., They go to these stores, they wait in line, sometimes there's fist fights, sometimes, you know, people get little... We call it extra these days.
Extra.
It's a good way of putting it. They get a little extra, a little too hyped, and definitely want this toy. The older people are sacrificed, pushed out of the way to pick up the toy, and you know, basically it's like a King of the Mountain here. So all this shit happened. Yes, all this shit happened with Nintendo as well. When Nintendo launched, it didn't really do this, but some of the games did. It was sold out almost everywhere. You know, in the Super Nintendo, same thing, sold out almost everywhere when it came out. A lot of companies do this. You know, they limited stocks. You know, to make it more of an in-demand thing. It's been working since Apple, etc. But anyway, just imagine if you hate waiting in line for one of these toys / one of these video game systems. Imagine what the retail workers are doing, trying to stay out of the way of fights.
Oh my God.
So this evolved to GameStop, and obviously in modern times, certain games required midnight releases because they were so popular. People wanted to, this game came out at 12 o'clock, people wanted to be sitting in front of the console at 12:01 playing these games. And it doesn't really happen that way once you're buying a physical copy, so you still had to march your ass down to the store, wait in line with a few thousand people sometimes, and hopefully they have the game for your preferred console.
I mean, the way how they had it separated, they would have two separate lines where if you had your game paid off, you go in this line. If you had this game, or if you didn't have it paid off, say you had like $10 more on it or so, then you would wait in another line and hope that they still have a copy for you.
Oh dear lords.
Yeah, like the last midnight launch I went to was for Mortal Kombat 11, and I have GameStop not too far from me, and I was actually going past it, and it was actually at 9 p.m. because the location, they're not allowed to have stores open past 10 p.m. So it was
the next day.
I'm sorry?
It was the next day then?
No. Mm-mm. Oh no, they had the midnight launch at 9 p.m. So we all picked up our games. I had my dinner, and from what I heard, NetherRealm was being contacted about people with early copies on Twitch, and they were getting their Twitch accounts banned. So I was like, I have the game now. It's 10 p.m. Do I really want to stream right now? And so I actually did. I did stream. I had a couple viewers, and I only did the first hour because I was really afraid of getting my Twitch account suspended. I really didn't want to go through the whole hassle of starting a new Twitch because I was like halfway to affiliate at that point, and I don't want to start over.
That's as a consumer in like modern times, though.
Yeah, it's more of a modern.
What do you think of? I don't know. You have a few horror stories about working GameStop.
My God.
I know you didn't do too many midnight launches, if I'm not mistaken.
No, my boss and my coworkers really didn't allow me to do many midnight launches, and honestly, like, I appreciated it. It was mainly for safety concerns because, I think at the time I was in my early 20s. I must have been like 21 maybe, and I mean, it wasn't like I was 15 or anything, but still, 21 is, it's young, so they were a little concerned about me being in that area after midnight or so. And especially considering that I was a, what's the word I want to say, a commuter. So, and because the bus ran so sporadically, they really didn't want me stranded there either.
Understood.
Yeah, but there was one midnight launch. Well, I did work the Mortal Kombat 2011 midnight launch, and that went off completely fine.
What about Call of Duty? I know you worked Call of Duty one, didn't you?
I did not. No.
Not the midnight launch.
Not the midnight launch for Call of Duty, but the next day. And this is a funny story. So there was a show that I wanted to go to, and I had tickets for. I could not attend that show because Activision decided we were gonna put out Call of Duty a little bit earlier than supposed to, and I was a little bummed out by that. But working in a mall with a game like Call of Duty that came out, and it wasn't too long after. I'm trying to think of the holiday that it was around. I believe it was Veterans Day.
So November.
Yeah, so it was a little bit before Thanksgiving. So it was just kind of kicking off the
holiday rush.
The holiday rush, and it was crazy. It was crazy. I think it was Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I believe it was for, and just...
Was there a lot of, I imagine there's a few fist fights.
I wouldn't say for that. There was people kind of like pushing and shoving, but the only fist fight game that I've seen people go like really crazy for was when Grand Theft Auto 5, I believe it was, came out. And in our store, we ran out of copies so many times, we had to run to a store not too far from us, pick up copies from them so that we could sell more. And we had to do that at least 5 times because
it was that popular.
Oh my God, I can't even count how many copies we sold that day.
I know sometimes your anticipation level coincides with your anxiety level for getting a copy. Mm-hmm. So you're waiting in line, and then the line doesn't move as rapidly as it should. So you start to get a little uncomfortable, and then suddenly emotions start kicking in, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
And also because some of these stores weren't exactly equipped with any more than 2 computers and 2 game associates. So
I know. Dude. Basically, you had something like that going on. It bottlenecks the line to the point where. Because I work, in a field where, we have to deal with that, and, fitting a few thousand people into 4 lanes, basically, which, is a good way of saying, for retail. It creates a lot of anxiety, and a lot of people get really upset, edgy, and unfortunately, some assholes get a little violent.
Definitely, yeah. I do remember another midnight launch. I think it was NBA 2K16, excuse me. And there was an unruly customer in there, and he was a little upset as to why there were two separate lines. One line was for a separate store, and that specific store that I worked at, and then the other line was for another store that we were having the midnight launch at, because the location that we had our store in couldn't stay open after a certain time. So our line was rapidly moving because we had already set up everything. We had the games, we had the receipts together, so you could just go in, grab your game, and leave.
I'm trying to picture this as like a pop-up store, like for the midnight launch, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, it was the GameStop location yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was like, you know, basically you all had it set up like a. I've seen this like pop-up stores like for certain things like. Some team, I've seen this in an airport, like some team won the Super Bowl, and, you know, they have a pop-up shop all of a sudden for said team, and that lasted like 2 weeks.
Right, yeah, and then this customer was getting a little unruly because he was wondering why it was taking so long and why people in the other line were getting their games and he wasn't. And, you know, I had to calmly tell him, yes, you'll be getting your game, don't worry, we're not shutting the store down, you know, everyone is leaving with a game tonight. So, and it's because I couldn't work the computer. There were already two people at the computer, and I would just kind of be in the way. And
so you were like the directing traffic, basically.
Yeah, like directing traffic, quote unquote bouncer. Because I mean, you look at, you know, I'm very small, so me being a bouncer is very funny.
Hey, you know a little Taekwondo, so
yeah, I'm a yellow belt in Taekwondo. But basically, I was just kind of using my voice and like. Be nice, like, don't start screaming at people, don't start screaming at the coworkers, you know, they got nothing to do with this, you will have your game, just give it, like, another 10 minutes or so. I want my game now! You'll get your game now.
This is, I don't know.
I mean, I've been
impatient.
When I say impatient, like, antsy about getting my games, too, but, like...
I've never actually personally been in one of these lines, so... I don't know, but I did have, like, I
haven't even started the Skyrim horror story yet.
Oh, no. I mean, back in the day, I remember, when Diablo 1 came out, I was very hyped for this game, because, Blizzard was a smart company back in, the 90s. When they released Warcraft, you know, you could go on their CD-ROM, you know, the expansion set for Warcraft 2, and they had trailers for some of these games. And it was cool, like, you know, it's basically like a little marketing campaign. The one that drew me in was Diablo, which, it looked awesome, you know. And back in 96, you're looking at this game like, oh my god, this game looks amazing. So, you know, obviously I put it on my Christmas list. And as a kid, you know, it's just like, hey, whatever, get it, you know. So my parents did, you know, got me all these games. And absent on Christmas was Diablo. My parents explained that, yeah, the game, where we went to, you know, to buy some of these games, they have it completely out of stock due to the popularity of it. So you'll get it sometime in January. So I'm just like disappointed, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I understand, and I have all these other games to play. I could just imagine though, like, you know, some kid, you know, not getting this on Christmas, and then, why did I not get this?
Oh god, yeah.
So, you know, retail's like a tough gig. Yeah. I know. I believe everyone in this world should be forced to, for at least a month of their life, work retail. You will get a better, complete understanding of humanity that way.
There was a kid I remember at I worked at like 3 different GameStop locations, and there was a kid who was upset that we did not have the game in the store that he wanted. So we were able to go on to GameStop.com and order the game and have it sent to his house. And the kid was so upset that we didn't have it, he started crying, and he wasn't like throwing a hissy fit or anything. It was just like little tears coming down.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for him. I ran in the back of the store and I found like some pre-order things that were not picked up. So I think it was a Lego Batman, and I found some Lego Batmans in the back, and I found like a little plush of a Batman, and I just gave it to him. I said no one's gonna buy this, and it's better in your hands, and it's just something nice to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Occasionally you get something like that, and then occasionally, like at retail, you just get someone that's just going to show up and be belligerent regardless of what you say. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
as a retail worker, or was a retail worker, and now I'm a sucker for these little kids. They're so cute. It's like I want them to have every game that they want, and I want to make their day.
I could understand that. It's just sometimes you're watching the little kid, tears coming down, throwing a temper tantrum, and meanwhile his
temper tantrums are a completely different story. It's like if I see a kid crying, I'm going to try to help him. If I see a kid throwing a temper tantrum, then you're going to see. I'm not a mother, but you're going to see
Auntie
mommy
Nikki come
Nikki,
out.
yeah, Auntie Nikki come out.
Auntie Nikki.
It's like I'm gonna say hey, like no screaming. I see you start kicking the displays over, and you're gonna pick them up.
You're gonna pick every one of these up,
and you're gonna put them back in alphabetical order. If I see Fire Emblem next to Resident Evil, that's a problem.
We're gonna have words.
Yeah.
This podcast, copyright 2023, 240p Club, all rights reserved. 240p Club is not affiliated with any video game companies. We're just fans.